Call this committee to whole to order. We have one item on the agenda, the solid waste collection contract. Is that you, Linda?
It is. Thank you. So, for the record, my name is Linda Knight, and I'm the Solid Waste Coordinator for the city. Tonight, I'm here to talk with you about the procurement of the 2016 solid waste contract. I'm going to provide you with just a brief history of procurement of solid waste services for the past 25 years. That's how long I've been here. Describe the current market environment and outline our goals for the competitive procurement process. So our current solid waste contract expires at the end of May 2016. Procurement and implementation takes careful planning, and it's important that we provide the time to move with positive intention throughout this process. For the past 25 years, let's see, oh, I did that again, I did that wrong. Sorry. There we go, overview. For the past 25 years, we've used different strategies to contract for solid waste services, from a request for a proposal back in 1989 for the city's first curbside garbage and recycling program to amendments and extensions. In 1993, we amended the contract to add multifamily recycling, and by virtue of amending the contract, we also extended the contract. Then in 2000, we went out for a straight request for bid. Then you can see there's a couple more extensions in there. And then in 2009, we did a direct negotiation with Waste Management, who had partnered with us on a pilot program for our every other week collection program. We negotiated a new contract with them to bring that program to all of our customers and to also bring commercial recycling to our commercial sector. So some of the things that we look for when we are looking at the next generation of solid waste contracts is kind of what is the current marketplace looking like. And in our examination, what we've found is that we have a competitive marketplace for solid waste. We currently have 3 proven service providers in Waste Management, our existing service provider. We have Recology Cleanscapes that's been around for a number of years now, and they've proven to be giving good service to other cities. And we also have Republic Services that also is serving parts of the city of Renton. So we have a number of goals for our procurement. One is that we looked for cost competitiveness. We are looking at ratepayer and city protections, service enhancements. We're looking to improve customer service and improving our management of that customer service. And we're looking for new innovations. So cost competitive, one thing that we're looking at is to realize some potential cost savings. We recently did an analysis of recently competitively procured contracts in the King County region, and when we basically dumped our customer numbers into those recently procured contracts, what we found is that there's money on the table, and we hope to, with this next generation, be looking at both service enhancements and at the cost of the contract. So we're hoping that by going through a competitive process that we'll be able to realize some savings and add some services. Maybe at least add some services and not have any additional costs. So that's that.
Excuse me. What kind of additional services are you looking for?
And I'm going to go over some of that with our service enhancements. So we're also looking at ratepayer and city protections. We want to look at, with each generation of contracts, it's our opportunity to really put in some new provisions that will give us some protections for the city, as well as to protect our ratepayers. We're looking at new performance requirements and some additional reporting standards and record keeping, things that will help us better manage the contract and better manage the customer experience with the contract and the services that they're provided. So service enhancements. So we're looking at expanding our customers' recycling options. We've done this in prior contracts. We've both looked at customer sectors, and we've also looked at numbers of materials that you can actually recycle. Our last contract was negotiated back in 2008, so there's been a bit of time, and there's always new innovations happening in solid waste. We're looking at improving our commercial and our multifamily recycling, and by improving that, I'm really looking at improving the customer experience and also increasing the overall recycling numbers. So, for example, our multifamily currently, our recycling rate's at about 12%, and our commercial recycling is about at 21%. Now, remember, we added commercial in just with the last contract in 2009, and Waste Management's been working diligently with us to try to get those numbers up. Multifamily is a tricky sector because there's no real cost savings that the individual customer realizes by recycling, so you don't have those kind of cost incentives to help move them along. And you've also got the large dumpsters, so there are a number of issues that we're still working through. And we believe that by adding some additional provisions in the contract and just kind of pushing a little bit more in our next generation of contract, that we'll be able to get those numbers up. I just wanted to give you the comparison, though. Our single-family rate's upwards of like 68%. So we've got some heavy lifting to do there. We're also looking at enhancing the overall customer education, putting in more provisions in the contract than we currently have for the contractor to take on some of that role, educating the customer about the importance of recycling, how to do it, how to reduce contamination, all of those things that actually make for a better and cleaner solid waste system. We're also looking at expanding our public litter collection. We have new areas of the city that are developing. We've currently just kind of really concentrate on the downtown service core, but this is our opportunity to look at other areas where we may have more pedestrian access and make those areas more pedestrian friendly by providing for litter collection. And we're also, again, looking at contractor billing, trying to improve that one-stop shop for the customer so that they have they have one place they can go to if their recyclables are missed, or if they want to pay their bill, then they just get in the habit of just calling the same entity. Councilmember Person, do you have any additional questions?
Kind of a facetious question, but the customer experience portion is kind of what you got me hung up on is, my customer experience with garbage, no matter who picks it up, is I put it out and they take it. So, and then the other is that it's like expanding the public, litter. If we start putting, and I'm all for getting people to pick up litter, but it just seems to me that we would be adding a cost to the homeowner to pick up litter out in the out
on the public right of way or something like that. Yeah, just looking at areas that are expanding that have more of a pedestrian friendly corridor, and we know that we already have litter in those areas. That is a cost to the city already because we employ a staff member that goes and picks up off the right of way. We may be able to prevent some of that by providing some containers out there, and under our existing contract, our existing contractor, Waste Management, does do the collection from each of those public litter containers. So it's just looking at how can we improve some of our experiences of our neighborhoods and cut down on maybe some of the work that our staff are doing. So, and your other question was the service experience. And I'll just say that most people have great experience with their solid waste and their recyclables. They put them out at the curb, as I do on my collection day, and somehow the trucks get there, and all I have to do is pull an empty container back to my garage. But sometimes that's not always the experience of a customer. They may have something that gets missed, or they may have contamination in their container, and if they don't get feedback from the contractor on why something didn't get collected, that they may have to go through some extra steps. And so it's just looking at all the little nuances in how we deliver our solid waste collection services to help the customer better understand and to make the collection more smooth and efficient for the contractor. So.
Yeah, I would just add, Council, I think our experience generally, the ratepayers in Renton has been positive with regard to waste management.
Absolutely.
I think they've provided great service for us, and so I think the majority of Renton residents have had the same experience you've had, where service has been collected on time, it's been picked up, there hasn't been, cans tipped over, and Mrs. Lady Waste has done a great job for us. So this isn't, we're not approaching this as we've got to really make significant strides to improve service. I think, as Linda just said, there are some slight nuances we could do in some certain areas, but in general, the customer service experience has been good. We expect that to continue in the new contract.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's just with every solid waste contract, it's kind of an evolutionary process that you see where you can be making improvements. Things that maybe are pretty smooth, but maybe could be a little bit smoother from both the management perspective and from the customer's perspective. So it's just looking at those nuances.
Councilmember Palmer.
Yeah, your questions reminded me of a couple of things. One area that I've heard could greatly benefit from having recycle is at Liberty Park around the basketball and tennis courts. There are residents of particularly North Renton, but some from South, that walk that direction, and they'll pick up bags full of water bottles and Gatorade bottles, and they take them home and put them in their recycling, and they've asked, why doesn't the city provide a place for them to go? Because majority of what it is isn't just litter, it's the water bottles.
Sure.
So that, your question reminded me of that. And then the second one, you said customer education, reminded me of being at Hazen, and I can't remember why we were doing it, drama, swimming, band, but the parents were providing a lunch, and afterwards the kids were all really good about taking their water bottles and starting to throw them in the recycle thing, although it wasn't big enough. But they did not know that you're not supposed to put the caps on. Nobody, and out of 100 people, adults and students, had ever heard that before. And once I said that to one, they all started, oh, it's supposed to take the caps off, Mrs. Palmer says. And they did it. So little things like that, maybe you
Sure.
and I take for granted that we know,
Right.
was a big revolution. And the kids want to. They've been raised with this recycling and take care of our planet. They want to do what's right. I mean, there was nobody saying, go put your bottles in the recycle. They just said, where's a bigger one? This one's full.
Right.
And the same with paper. But it's the little things like that that make a difference, I would imagine, on the other end.
Right. So it's all those little pieces of education that we hope to improve upon. So, I
Right.
mean, we do it already, and sometimes it's just the methods that we choose to get the message out.
Exactly.
But that's good news.
Those were
They're all-
just two examples.
They're all
that-
going out. And the Liberty Park basketball court, Parks does their own collection within the parks, so that's something that I may be able to coordinate with the Parks Department.
Wait,
So-
my understanding is, and I don't remember to look when I'm there, there's no recycle container?
We
It's
current-
just trash?
Correct. We
containers.
currently don't have recycle in our parks, and there's complicated factors
sure.
for why we don't do that, but it certainly is always an option to be looking at. Maybe we pilot something in a park to see how it goes. One of our concerns, of course, is contaminants in our
Right.
recycling. I mean, it doesn't make sense to have everybody pitch it into a recycling only to have a few people then contaminate the load and, so
Exactly.
we'll look at that.
Right. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Sure. Good to go?
Yep, keep going.
So improve customer service, and this is really more about improving how we manage that customer service piece. It's looking at provisions in the contractor that we have measurable call center performance, and that we have real web functionality, making it easier for the new generation who tends to go to their electronics to manage their bill paying, their education of, when is the truck coming, or what day is my recycling collection. It's just looking at those things. Looking at flexible communication, we've talked a bit about these things, these phones and all of our iPads and whatnot. So we're looking at those issues and also looking at accurate billing. The city pays for disposal costs directly to King County. Waste Management, our current contractor, and the new contractor will have a role in this in terms of they're delivering the waste to King County, and we count on them to have accurate record keeping so that we know that those loads going to the transfer station are Renton loads, and that we're only paying for Renton disposal tonnage. And that's just one example of accurate billing. So. And lastly is innovation, but it's also kind of a more important spot. This is where you open up a contract and you say to the proposers, hey, you guys know the industry better than we do, and you may know of some brilliant ideas that will bring better service or more innovation into Renton. I mean, we've already seen it in terms of our every other week collection program. I think that was very innovative. And while we haven't seen any King County cities adopt the every other week collection model, we continually get calls from out of state, cities down the coast and across the nation looking at Renton as a leader for every other week collection. So, you know, that's one example of something that we've done in the past, and we're hoping that with this process, we'll be able to open up and see what the different contractors have to propose for us. So this is just a slide that shows some of the recent procurements of King County cities, kind of the volume of customers that they serve and who was serving them, who's serving them now. And you can see that there's, there is the mix of the three competitors in there. You have some that are served by Waste Management, some Republic, and some Recology. And it's really just to illustrate that all three contractors are viable vendors for the city of Renton. So this is just to show you then our next steps. We've been working diligently to prepare the RFP and bid documents, the contract, working on contract language. When we do that, we look at other cities and see what they're doing, see what kind of new innovations there are out there in solid waste, and look at what we need here in Renton. Our second and third quarters, we'll be looking at advertising the RFP. We will be having an industry review period where we'll provide the contract as we have it written now to the industry. They'll be able to respond to it, and we'll take those responses into consideration before we put the final contract out there as part of the RFP process. We'll then analyze the proposals, and we'll make vendor recommendations. We'll prepare the final draft, and then in the fourth quarter, we're going to be back before you for your final selection of the vendor and authorizing the mayor to execute a new contract.
Mr. Person?
Yes. Who's preparing the RFP?
There's staff, and we have a consultant that have been working collaboratively to prepare the RFP and the contract document.
How much is a consultant charging us?
Like it's under.
We can get back to you.
Yeah, I can get back to you.
I
It's
Okay, I mean, I guess my concern is I think our staff has the expertise to do it themselves, and if just don't want us to be paying money to a consultant so that we end up reducing the rates a little bit, but the consultant overall costs us more money than.
no,
what we're
it's
doing.
it's not a large consultant contract at all. So,
If you can get back to us with that, that'd be
yeah,
great.
we will definitely get back to you
Thank
with
you.
that. And then the first and second quarter of 2016 will be deep in pre-implementation mode, and that's once the vendor's selected, the contract signed, then we roll up our sleeves, not that we haven't already, but we'll roll up our sleeves and get to work on all of the details of the contract, all of that customer education, looking at if new containers need to be purchased, working with the public to notify them of any service changes or enhancements and that type of thing. And then June 1st, we will be rolling out the new contract. And this was a very deliberate change in our last contract. As you recall, we had a start date of January 1st, which followed December, which can be a really dicey month, as we all experienced with the rollout of our every other week collection program after a major snowstorm. And so we decided that we will now start contracts in June, when we don't anticipate this area having any major weather incidents that complicate our rollout. So that's the change.
Right after Christmas,
And not after
with
Christmas.
all that extra stuff.
And not educating customers during the Thanksgiving holiday and the busy Christmas season, right?
Wise decision.
Yeah, well, we learned our lessons. That's it.
All right, any questions from council? Councilmember Person?
Yeah, you talked about buying new containers. Does the city buy them, or does the contractor have to provide them?
So, under our existing contract, the containers that are out in the street now come into city ownership at the end of the existing contract. So we don't anticipate buying all new containers, but, there is inevitably, after you've had a contract out on the street for, 9 years or whatever it is, 7, that there's damage and whatnot, and so some of that inventory will need to be purchased, but it's not a major expense in the contract.
So this is off the contract, but when my garbage container gets damaged and Waste Management replaces it, do we pay, the city pay, or that's just on their dime?
It's all part of the contract cost, so we don't pay a separate fee for those containers. So when the containers are damaged or stolen, they are replaced by the contractor.
Any other questions from council?
Um,
Go ahead,
yeah,
Mr. Corman.
I guess I was wondering, can you remind me a little bit more about, and I know we've talked about this before, but the rationale for going out to proposals again versus just negotiating with the hauler that we've already got?
Sure. I mean, we've done, as you saw in the first slide on the presentation, is that we've used a number of strategies to procure our contracts over the years. As you know, we've had the same vendor for the last 25 years,
Right.
and they've provided us great service. We feel that the marketplace is competitive at this point in time, and a negotiated process, while may deliver decent rates, they're not market proven rates, and so it really does give the city some cover, and we believe that it does put pressure on the
Okay.
proposers, just like any bid. Like if you were building a fence and you would, get 3 different
Right.
proposals, or you're building an addition to your house.
Right.
A direct negotiation, we believe, doesn't return the same benefits as a request for proposal.
Thanks.
Okay, so I've got a committee report here, Committee of the Whole Committee report. The Committee of the Whole concurs with the administration's intent to pursue a competitive process to procure the 2016 solid waste collection contract. Anyone have any objections with me signing it? Okay. This Committee of the Whole is adjourned.
Thank you.